Happy Halloween and welcome to our November Savage Gardens seasonal check-in. Even though it's like 85 degrees today and I'm still in this tank top, technically it is Halloween here on the farm. And I think all of us really think of carnivorous plants as totally the Halloween plants. It's hard to think of anything else, whether, it's our ghostly white leucophylla pitchers chomping up the late season flies, or the snapping jaws of Venus flytraps. The Halloween vibes definitely run thick around here. Still lots and lots of work to do, as always. And I want to take a moment because we've noticed a huge uptick in our followers on YouTube. So I know that there are, about 20,000 new people just in the last couple of weeks. So thank you so much for following us. I hope you really enjoy learning about our weird little carnivorous plant farm here and these fantastic plants that we're so in love with. And I hope you're able to pick up on that and go down this amazing rabbit hole voyage with us. One of the things that's so fun, I think, to watch us and see what's happening here is you become a part of the natural cycles of nature because we're so rooted into that. And you can see how the plants change throughout all the seasons. And I think it's such a really amazing, strangely intimate relationship with these plants that we have. And not that many other people really have that. Even botanists or taxonomists are not usually spending year-round time with these plants in the same way that we do. And so I think it's fun to go see them popping up in the spring, but it's also fun to see what they're doing now as we approach Halloween. And we're always talking about how different American pitcher plants come up at different times, and that affects how they go dormant at this time of year. I don't know what that was. I don't know if you heard that, but that was like a loud train horn in the background, and there's no trains nearby, so who knows. Anyways, things are always, certain things come up early and then pretty much look dormant by now. Like the flavas over there, there's probably no new pitchers coming on those, and the ones from the spring are already going brown. If you scroll back a little ways, you'll see we did I think it was our last seasonal check-in. We took a look at the Oreophila over there. I'm not gonna take you over there again to see those brown things, but they're even browner now. Whereas other things, like this beautiful Excellence is just opening up some nice, really beautiful pictures here. If there's Leucophylla, this is an old cross I did years ago. Kind of looks like Dana's Delight, but this one, because it has Leucophylla in it, is also putting up late season pictures. This is Galadriel. I sometimes used to call this, before I named it, Sarracenia flava variety alba, because it just looks like a white flava. That's a really special plant. This is another one I call Chanticleer here. And this is the Peter D'Amato, which is starting to go a little bit dormant, but there's still really beautiful pictures on it that just came up a little while ago. And these are all ones that put up really beautiful pictures now, even later in the season. But don't freak out to see some of your plants are starting to crash out. Just like all of us, we can smell, even here in California, the mornings are cold and the days are shortening up, and we can smell that winter in the air, and so can all these plants. And so some of them, if they're ready, are definitely gonna go start going dormant. And speaking of which, let's go take a look at the fly traps. Something I've always warned people about is around Halloween is usually when you start to lose all those tall summer traps on Venus flytraps. So some of ours that we're shipping out now, I would say, still have some growth on them and may not look super dormant, but some of them are. And so don't be surprised if you're ordering a Venus flytrap now and it doesn't look exactly like the picture. Obviously, we take these pictures when they're in active growth, but things are seasonally changing, like I just said. And so you can see all these guys are starting to go brown and blackish. You can pull them away. It's often good to wait another few weeks or next month until they're really, really black, because if they're still green at the base, you can pull the whole plant out. But once they go black, we've shown this many times, you can just start pulling all these old traps away. For you, it'll probably be a small job. It takes a minute, like all things here. I'm gonna end up with a giant Tupperware bin of old Venus flytraps. Some things are still looking pretty great, like this gremlin over here. That's an old cultivar I made a long time. Low traps, never usually make summer traps, or very rarely. So that's probably why that one's still looking good. And then famously, I have my old childhood fly trap that I named Persephone recently, because it does resist dormancy and tends to keep these summer traps longer than most of the other plants. And the ones that also keep them are things like witchy baby. Over here we have a witchy baby. And it's starting to go dormant, but you can see there are still some nice tall summer traps left on it. That's ginormous there, for people who are wondering. That's an old giant of mine. And over there in the corner is gaping maw. Still nice big giant summer traps on that. And personally, that's one of my kind of breeding things, is I'm not only making giant plants for you, but I would also like to have giant plants with an extended growth season. And Persephone I've been putting into things for a very long time, and so lots of our giants have that to them, which is just so super cool. The other thing I'll point out again is check out my new owner's tank top. The blue tank top, I've been wearing that here at the nursery for like, I don't know, almost 20 years probably. And I always joked that they were owner's tank tops, but I believe you can finally order your own blue tank top with CalCard things such as "Don't Tease My Traps." Anyways, and there's a bunch of new stuff on there too. Stickers, mugs. I know you guys have, you know, I hate to even say it out loud because I know it fills me with terror, but Christmas is right around the corner. And if you're trying to figure out what to get for your weird carnivorous plant friend, maybe a blue tank top like Damon wears, or a mug, or some stickers. It's always a great and easy idea. For all of my ping pals, and for my noobs who are going, what's a ping? A ping is a Mexican butterwort. They're beautiful little sticky plants with hummingbird pollinated flowers that are so pink, red, vibrant, and have long time been a favorite of mine, and I feel like that's really spreading like crazy all over the place. So we have lots of people that are finding out about pings for the very first time, which is short for pinguicula, which means little greasy one, because their leaves are gently slimy. But forget about that, just focus on the beautiful, beautiful flowers. But I know there's a lot of you who are just learning about them, and a lot of new ping owners, and we're just coming into, which is a tricky time of year, which is, you know, in Mexico where they grow, they have dry, cool winters where they won't get any rain. It's basically the opposite of what we experience here in California, where we have mild wet winters and dry summers. Mexico has these like pine forests that actually have, you know, it never gets too cold, but they actually have a complete long dry period. So just like your cacti or succulents, you generally, I hate to say times like this, but generally a good cactus rule is to stop watering them from Halloween to Valentine's Day. And because, believe it or not, these beautiful little plants grow right next to cacti and succulents in the wild very often, you can kind of abstractly use that same rule. So here we are at Halloween. I have this beautiful flat of Malibu Barbie, which is a cultivar done by Bob Beer. We've been really, it's a somewhat new thing that we have for sale. Really beautiful red leaves, really beautiful fuchsia flowers, and a super cute name. But in here you can see we still have some plants with sticky carnivorous leaves that are wide and flat, often with a little rolled margin like that. And then right next door, I have this one that's what we call its succulent phase. When it starts to make non-carnivorous, often more succulent little leaves for storing water to survive that dry period. And this moment here is such a tricky time, and I know it gives everyone a lot of, you know, gentle planty anxiety about, am I watering it too much? Maybe it's not too gentle, maybe you're freaking out about it, but try not to freak out about it. So you can see I've got the top of this very, very dry. It looks like really, really dry. And if you touch your finger to it, it feels dry on top. And that can be kind of deceiving, but these things have roots that are going down a ways. And if you reach down in there, you won't be able to see or feel this, but you just have to take my word for it. There's still some dampness down in there underneath this dry soil. And so that's totally okay. Even in the carnivorous phase, you're allowed to get them about this dry. Another good thing that I do out here, and this is controversial, because a lot of people tell you to never ever water your pings overhead, but at this time of year, as opposed to sitting them in water, it might be a good idea to take them out of that water and start to gently water them overhead. I think a good trick is to do that in the morning, so it has all day to dry out well before it gets darker and cooler at night, which is often, I think, when rot can kind of start. So I'll come and sprinkle all of the pings in here gently overhead, not to get it sopping wet, but just to make sure that this upper layer is gently moist now. And then it has all day to dry out next to these noisy fans, which is sucking all the moisture away. And good air circulation too. If you're having trouble with rot, it's just like all things. If you put your produce in a plastic bag all sealed up, you would expect to see more rot, and it's the same thing with your pings. If they're super humid and all domed up, that's where rot is more likely going to start. So airflow and more light. Don't cook them with too much light, but more airflow certainly will lead to less rot. And that's the scary thing right now. If you keep them too wet, they could rot. If you keep them too dry, maybe they wilt. But I did want to show you this and just reiterate, look how dry this looks. And the carnivorous ones are just fine. And I'm still not going to water them until tomorrow. I've been working hard, and Tom and I have been working hard on our Nepenthes and our Helianthora collection. Finally getting everything up on tables so they can be taken care of a little bit better. And it's just so nice to see our Helianthora all in one spot and looking really super good again. This is Helianthora McDonaldae, which is, I don't know, it's probably one of the most beautiful species, arguably. It has these, this venation inside the pictures is really second to none. And ours has a flower coming on it, which is always exciting. I haven't been doing a whole lot of Helianthora crossing around here lately, but that's one that I will definitely take advantage of. Maybe cross it with minor and get a shorter plant with beautiful venation on the interiors. Over here, this is cool. This is these pods ripening are pure Aristolochioides, which is a gorgeous tubby little species that looks like pipevine. That's the genus, is Aristolochia. Aristolochioides means looks like Aristolochia. That's a mouthful. And it kind of does. So we made pure species on that, which is really super exciting. This one with a little blue is actually Aristolochioides by Macrophylla. You deep Nepenthes guys, that's going to be really, really cool. I'm not sure that's been done before, but maybe it has, either way. This is the ivory upper picture of Pitopangii. Also a super beauty. And over here, we have a relatively new species. One of the things I've loved about doing this my entire life is when I was a little kid, I think there were like 70 species of Nepenthes, and now it's almost 200. And so all these new things have been discovered in my lifetime, which has just been such a joy to see happen. And this one here is Nepenthes undulatifolia. That's another fun one to say. It sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Undulatifolia. And then it makes you have wavy margins or something. I don't know. Spoiler alert, this one has wavy margins, just like that. It also has these really beautiful hairy stems. I don't know if you can catch that, but they're covered in little white ingementum of fine hairs, just really beautiful. And you'll probably notice here, this is a male flower. And over there, I have a female flower. And so this year, we were able to make pure undulatifolia, horticulturally produced seeds, which I think happened once before, but we're gonna have our own. And that means that, you know, in the not too distant future, probably 3 years or something like that, we'll put these into TC and you'll have those too. I also crossed Pitopangii with undulatifolia. Just one pod I spared for that. But you can see those are just very complementary. And so I think crossed together, that'll be really super cool. When you're breeding plants, I think it's good to cross things that are complementary to bring out, you know, to kind of emphasize a trait like that. So we'll probably end up with really beautiful, you know, kind of tubby little pictures like that. They kind of look like Slimer from Ghostbusters. And lots of other cool things happening all over the place. There's the gobstopper. You can see this latest leaf is like nearly entirely white. it also flowered, and so we've been crossing that onto all kinds of things. The low-eyes are starting to really settle in and look nice in their new home. We have 7, I believe, low-eyes all making upper pictures like this. Oh, and colossi. Daniela just gently pointed and Nepenthes colossi. Super rare plant. And just looking, they just don't really look much better than that. I don't know if I can get both of these in there, maybe. Woo! This is kind of like a giant Aristolochioides that we just looked at. It has this hunch that is very similar. But it's really interesting. I mean, it's such a rare plant. I haven't seen a bunch of them to compare it to, but isn't it interesting how the peristome is so collared like that? I'm not sure if that's consistent or that's just what this one's doing. For those obsessing, you can put it in the comments below for Daniela. I read your comments too. And also Daniela reads a lot of them. This is our Truncata spectabilis. That's looking pretty cool. Let's see. Over here, oh, this is Nigra. It's another relatively difficult species to grow. You don't see it too terribly often. Nigra is kind of like Hamada without the fangs, without the hooks. It's still a beautiful, beautiful plant. We recently added this Longwood Gardens Ventricosa porcelain. That I'm so happy to have in the collection. That's a fantastic thing. These little pictures are glabrata uppers, but this is the glabrata Palo Alto that was originally grown by the famous Jeff Wong. It's one of my all-time favorite plants. When I went to my very first International Carnivores Plant Conference, it was the second one ever in San Francisco. I want to say it was 1998, probably. It was such a fun thing because I was working at California Carnivores, which is already had a lot of notoriety, and to show up with Peter at the conference, which is so exciting. I met Bill Hoyer there for the first time, and I think that's one of the places I met Shin Lee. And I've always loved those conferences, but that was my very first one that was just so exciting. And Jeff Wong, that is where I met Shin. That's right, because I'm just remembering he brought one of the very first Nepenthes campanulata that had in cultivation. That species, when I was a kid, was thought to be totally extinct, and Shin rediscovered it. And I remember at that conference, he showed up with a very, very tiny little Nepenthes campanulata, which was the first one that we had ever seen before. And I remember just thinking it almost felt like to me like they brought a mammoth back to life, because I just thought that was extinct and I would never ever be able to see it. There were little line drawings that we'd seen, and that was really cool. I remember that got auctioned off. I believe Jeff Schaefer won it. And this glabrata that Jeff Wong had always grown it so beautifully. He would grow these long stems, and then he'd have these carousels. It looked like a little carousel of all the little pictures all hanging around it on long tendrils. And I was so taken with that plant, and Jeff Wong was already a very famous person with a lot of notoriety in this hobby. So as a young person, I was like, oh, I gotta get this plant. And I remember I won that in an auction, and this is it. This is the exact same clone anyways. What else do we have? Here's Tenuis. Tenuis is another really amazing Nepenthes species that I remember. I think it was in Charles Clark's, his Nepenthes book, his first one. There was just a grainy photo of this, and we were, oh my God, could barely see what it was. And then some people had to go rediscover it and find that one too. Really amazing. This is Reinwartiana Passion, which is a red semi-highland Reinwartiana. We grow it here, highland, and it's been really enjoying itself lately. I think this is the nicest it's ever looked. Reinwartiana often has 2 eye spots in this kind of milky whiteness in the back. I'm not seeing it today, but sometimes it does have 2 little eye spots. Not sure anyone really knows what that's for. And of course, over my shoulder here, this Truncata lowi is just opening up a new picture right here. Drink it, don't drink it. It's gross, it's slimy, very viscous and acidic, very acidic. So you can try it if you want to. It probably won't hurt you. Not that we're condoning that. If it does hurt you, it's not our fault. Let's go over here. Oh, let's see, let's go over here. Woo! Well, let's see. Let's take a peek over at this, because I'm just looking at this. Still some disorder over here. This is attached. That's a shame. Daniel, go in there. That's Truncata ovata upper pitchers. Really huge and amazing flared peristome. Very, very cool. Where was I headed? That's right here. Come over here. Come over, come along, come along. This is rigidifolia. Very insanely rare. Beautiful brown peristome, wingless lowers. Very, very, very endangered. And then this is the Nepenthes veitchi Jeff Wong. It's finally really adjusting to the new greenhouse and looking truly fantastic. There are a few other really amazing veitchis out in the world now, but for my money, that one is still the very, very best. And there's a glandulifera upper pitcher. Glandulifera upper pitchers, they're so nectary. They're just covered in these nectar glands. That's what glandulifera means, bearing nectar glands or glands. And if you smell them, they smell like cherry syrup. They have so much nectar on them. My fingers are sticky. Yeah. Anyways, I think that's our tour through the Nepenthes collection for now. Maybe we'll show the other side next month after I get a little bit more cleaned up and organized. I've been trimming all these pictures and trying to get them a little more cleaned up, pulling the odd weeds that took over during the transition of all this. Oh, this is Rami Spina. Really beautiful Rami Spina. I said it was over, but here we are. Really beautiful Rami Spina uppers. And then behind that, really beautiful Jack Linnea pictures. And Charles Clark, previously mentioned Charles Clark, he discovered that and named that for his wife. Okay, now it's really over. It's really over. We're gonna go look at something else. Over here, I have my secret little cactus corner. I thought we'd stop on by and check out what's going on because they are starting to flower, which is always fun. Lots of these things over here are called Areocarpus. Really cool, rare ones with these kind of textures. These things are like very slow growing and desirable in the cactus world. I know some of you are going like, what's a cactus and why are we talking about these? But these are really rare cactus. For those of you who are into it, most of these ones here are grafted. I have some non-grafted ones here. This is like a, I think a Rtusis Godzilla hybrid, I'm pretty sure. This is a Cachabayanas Fisheratus hybrid. Over here, this is pure Rtusis flowering. I just love these. They have these tubercles that are made to look like rocks. And so in the wild, they'll just kind of look like the rocks themselves are flowering. Over here is Fisheratus flowering. Very cool. And just because we got a lot of weird comments about it last time, no, these aren't peyote. These are Fraelia. And when they're a little bit more love and care, they could be purple and looking a little bit better. I grew all these from seed. They're begging to be transplanted. They say, please, please transplant me. So I have to take care of all these carnivorous plants first, though. I want to take a little look at one of the plants that we have for sale. These are Nepenthes ventricosa red by Lowai. Lowai is that very famous Nepenthes that has the little toilet pitchers for the tree shrews to poop in. If you're thinking this is famous, then go look at our YouTube channel. We've showed it many, many times. There's even David Attenborough documentaries about it. Years and years ago, there was one of these crosses named for Peter D'Amato, who's our founder of the entire nursery and author of The Savage Garden. I know that some of you, especially new people, don't necessarily understand that all of those things are connected. But Peter was like really a pioneer in this hobby, one of the very first people to grow them well, and of course founded this nursery and wrote the book, which really started so much of the hobby. I would obviously not say that he was 100% responsible because it was happening all over the world, but odds are if you're in the United States and even abroad, if you're growing carnivorous plants, probably either directly or indirectly had something to do with Peter. And that plant can only be reproduced via cuttings and can be very tricky to get your hands on. But these little TC ones are almost as beautiful. And what's nice about them is those Nepenthes lowai can take up to 20 years to make the upper pitchers that everybody's gaga for. And they need very specific conditions. They never want to be over 70. They want to get cold every single night, like down into the 50s. And that can be very hard for lots of people to pull off. But ventricosa, easy, beautiful, waxy, tubby little ventricosa will grow practically anywhere. And so by crossing a difficult species with an easy species, what you end up with is basically a red low-eye that's easy to grow. And so I really can't recommend these tiny little ventricoastal low-eyes enough. In unrelated to carnivorous plant news, that is, there has been some new changes on the farms. One of our new things is, this is Miss Sweetie Girl, or MSG for short. Semi-stray cat who showed up about 6 weeks ago now, I think, at the farm. Super skinny, which you can see is not a condition that she suffers from any longer. And we didn't quite know what was up with her, because it looked like she'd probably been pregnant, so we didn't know, was she pregnant? And oh, she's fast like a viper as well, especially when treats are involved. It's okay, she didn't mean to, that was my fault. So she showed up, we started feeding her, which I have a strong embargo on feeding stray cats around here, and I know we're gonna get a lot of comments about having an outdoor cat. Usually we're such indoor cat people, it's not even funny, but this one is fast like viper and not potty trained at all, and so she will be our one and only outdoor cat, which is good news because we also have chickens here, and if you have chickens, then you probably know how many rats and mice that attracts, and we have gophers here. If you don't know what a gopher is, it's a horrible rat that burrows in the ground and eats your roots off your plants. And so she's been the killer of rats and mice and gophers for sure. And a week later, she showed up with 5 kittens. And so we are all huge cat people here. I already had 2 cats with my partner. And we ended up with 5 kittens in our spare room. Raising them. Basically, long story short, 2 of them went to my mom. We kept 2, so now I have 4 indoor cats plus MSG. And we named those, the new ones inside are Mabel and Cooper. Insert cute kitten pictures here. Anyways, we have too many cats now. It's official.
But they're all fixed.
They are all fixed. That's a really good point. Yeah. Thanks to Forgotten Felines, which is a local group that helps you get all your cats fixed. They fixed all, including Miss Sweetie Girl and all the kittens. And so we are part of the solution and not the problem. This guy needs to be cleaned up a little bit for sure. So I thought I'd stop down and kind of pull some of these old brown pictures away. Obviously I won't do all this in front of you because this is a huge Helianthera. I think because most Helianthera growers are growing a lot of these in either a small greenhouse or a terrarium, it's very rare in cultivation to see one so huge. This is an old personal plant of mine. I've probably been growing it, I don't really know, well, probably since like around 2002, so probably about 25 years old. We've divided it actually numerous times, believe it or not. So I have it here in this giant plastic oak barrel pot. This is Heterodoxa minor. It's probably the easiest Helianthera to grow. We don't really have any for sale right now, I don't think, but maybe we'll divide this one in the winter and get some for you guys. But yeah, this thing pretty much fills up any space that I give it. A little pro tip, because the center of this in a sphagnum mix could be very, very wet and prone to breaking down and rotting. So inside this huge pot, I have a pot like this upside down. So the center is hollow. And that eliminates that whole weird, super dark, rotty zone. Anyways, I thought you guys might enjoy, seeing what your tiny Helianthera might turn into over time if left undisturbed. And as always, I hope that you guys have super enjoyed seeing what's going on the farm right now. And I hope that you keep tuning in for all kinds of tips on how to grow these plants. If you want to support us, but you don't want to grow any plants, it'd be a great time to go order some of our beautiful new merch. That helps us in lots of ways. Definitely helps spread the word about carnivorous plants while making you look extremely cool.